And so from a 10,000 foot view, but these mortgage programs are revenue bonds used to subsidize you as a potential home buyer if you qualify to help you get into the home. That's the spirit of a mortgage bond. Moreover, mortgage revenue bonds are backed by a pool of mortgages that can be tax-free for an investor. So that's where the money's come from. You have folks out that are looking for a return on capital that they might have. It's a win-win for those of you that are looking to get in at an affordable clip and for those that have monies. Let's move forward. Now, TSHAC, Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation, and the eligibility for this 4% bond loan that's going to be issued here in a week or so. The first thing is you must be a first-time home buyer. Definition, you've not owned or had ownership interest in the most recent 3 years. These subsidies are designed for first-time home buyers. You've not owned. Secondly, the household income must be used to qualify. Texas is a community property state. So if you have a spouse legally married, then we have to look at the income of the household. So both incomes, or whatever that income would be for the household, has to be at or below 80% of the area family median income. Bullet point number 3, you must earn no more than 80% of the area median family income. And there's no professional requirements with this bond program, meaning you don't have to be a Texas hero or work in a certain profession. That's not applicable. And if you're buying in a targeted area, then there are no first-time home buyer requirements. So that's a way around if you're not a first-time home buyer, but you're buying in certain areas that are designated targeted. Your lender, we could help you determine what that is, but that's a way to get around that, and you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. Let's move forward. How does one determine what their income would be? Great question. Simply, you can Google area median income lookup, Fannie Mae area median income lookup, or reach out to ourselves or whoever your lender is. And that income is going to be determined by the property address that you're buying, the property address. So it's important to have a property address. When you plug that in into an income tool like what you see on your screen here, it's going to break down for you what that 80% number is. And simply put, whatever the gross income is of the household, as long as it meets that 80% or less, then you meet that test. Okay. So very important tool. And that's something that you could, look and play around with if you don't think you're ready to move forward at this time. What do you need? What do I need? What would anyone need to apply? First and foremost, you have to qualify on the merit of your income, credit, and assets. You have to have the ability to repay the loan. So if you meet the first-time homebuyer test, that's one. If you're at 80% or less of the area median income based upon the property, that's 2. Then you need to reach out and submit an application. We have a very robust technology platform where you can apply with your mobile phone, laptop, computer. And so it's very readily available and easy for you to apply securely online. And in that portal, you're able to upload the required documentation for us to properly approve you. And I want to pause here and just emphasize this point. There's a lot of soft pulls and people glancing over credit here in 2024. You want to make sure that you are approved and dealing with a lender that understands the product. You can get approved for a bunch of different products, but you want to deal with someone that's closed a lot of these things and knows the process so it can go as smooth as possible. Back to the application, the secure online application, telephone, laptop, computer, desktop, secure online, submit that information, and then submit the minimum required documentation. I say minimum because your specific situation might call or require additional documentation. Everybody is looking for opportunities like this. To be able to take advantage, you have to be approved. In that portal, we're going to need your tax returns and or transcripts that cover the most recent 3 years. I'm going to say 2020, 2021, 2022, And if you have your 2023 W-2s, go ahead and upload them, because if you're closing, say after February 15th, those tax returns are going to be in play. And so we might as well go ahead and collect them. But here's the deal. This is where a lot of folks run into a wall, if you will, because if you've had several jobs, it's incumbent upon you to give the lender what that chronological work order is. Because if you have job gaps and things of that nature, there could be an issue. Again, getting approved properly is very important. In the portal, you can upload your proof of income for the household for the most recent 30 days, detailed pay stubs. Most places nowadays have an online portal, even with your pay, where you can download as a PDF the actual physical pay stub that shows all the deductions. Proof of assets. We want to see your bank statement. What bank statement? The bank statement that you're going to use to bring your funds to close. And that's a perfect segue here before I move forward. This program is just providing a below rate first mortgage at 4%. So you have to have your down payment and or closing costs, or you got to work with a partner like some of the partners that we have. So if you don't have a realtor, not a problem. Once we get you approved, I have a network in the state of Texas that I know, like, and trust, because they're able to negotiate. And if it's a possibility, they can get monies from the seller. But if not, you could bring your own realtor. But keep that in mind. You have to have your own closing cost and down payment. This program is only providing the first mortgage, the amount that you're financing, at a below market rate, and that's 4%. Any asset statement that you're going to use, bank statements, stock brokerage accounts, 401k, if you're going to pull those monies out of there, we need to see the most recent 60 days. Download that PDF document, all pages, and we got to see the most recent 60 days. If you get quarterly statements, we want the most recent quarter, so that'll be the fourth quarter of last year. Got to have a minimum credit score of a 620. And to be honest with you, the higher the score, the better, but really you want to be above 640, because between 620 and 639, there's additional cost. If you have a 620 middle score, that will open the door to apply to see if we can get you approved. And when I say 620, that's whoever is on the application. So when we talk about household income, that's everyone that's within the union, got to be at 80% or less of the area median income. But you might be just applying yourself. Say your spouse credit can't get. As long as you can carry all the debt within your union and the gross, the combined income is at or below 80% of the area median income, we're good to go. But 620 is the score. You got to do a first-time homebuyers class. I have access to that. Anybody you're dealing with should be able to point you in that direction. I got a nice free online class, very detailed. You don't have to go to a physical place anymore, to be honest with you. So again, have access to that, but got to complete the course. And so there's some time that you have to allocate for that. And you have to be approved from a TSHAC approved lender. So if you go to the TSHAC's website under the borrower section and you type in, search for a lender. Typically the way it is, based upon how many you're closing, you might be in 5 certain counties, but everybody that's on that list, because you might not be on the list for the quarter, anybody that's approved with TSHAC can do this loan anywhere in the state. And that's very important. We as lenders do not dictate the interest rate. So the way you want to decide who you want to deal with is based upon who understands the program, who can educate you and make you comfortable as you matriculate through this process. Let's move forward. So now, what are the risks? We always talk about the benefits. Let's talk about the cons. The risk in this program, in my opinion, is what we call a recapture tax. You may possibly be subject to a recapture tax. Why is that? Because it's subsidized money. And so you may be subject to a recapture tax. What's the recapture tax, or how is it implemented? If you use these funds, you close on a loan, say today, and you sell your home within the first 9 years, depending on when you sell, there is a potential for you to be taxed, have some recapture of that subsidized interest that you've received in the form of the 4% mortgage rate. Now, here's the good news. Never had anybody experience recapture because you have to meet all three of the following tests. Your income has to increase 5% a year every year based upon what the area median income was at the time that you purchased your home. So that alone for most people is going to be a deal killer. Most folks aren't getting 5% a year increases on their job. If you are, kudos to you winning, right? Number two, if you sell your home anytime after 9 years, well, that's not a con, that's a pro, there's no recapture. So just put that in your mind. There's no recapture if you sell anytime after 9 years. But if you sell within the 9 and you have income that increases every year 5%, if you sell your home within the 9 years, but there's no gain, okay, then there's no recapture. Okay, that's the three. You have to sell within 9. You have to have a 5% increase every year from what the starting area median income was when you purchased, and you have to make a profit. Let's look at an example. You're making $40,000 here, right? Jack's example, he's making $40,000 a year when he purchased this home, right? At the 4% bond that we're talking about. And the maximum income limit, maximum area median income at the time that he purchased was $50,000. So the first thing is this: he has to start realizing a 5% increase on his income starting at $50,000, not 40. So from $50,000, he would have to increase 5% every year. Now, let's say he went to year 5 and he's received that 5% for 5 years, right? He's satisfied one portion of the test. Now he says, I want to sell. He satisfied the second portion because he's selling within the 9 years. As we read forward, the recapture tax cannot exceed 50% of the gain that you realize on the home. His income increased. He sold within the 9 years and he's made a profit. Let's say he made $2,000 in this scenario. In that case, then his recapture tax that he would owe would be $1,000. And then there's ways around that as well, because the gain that you have is less any expenses like realtor commissions and certain fees and things of that nature. So point I'm trying to make is, guys, these things were designed for people that are at or beneath a certain income threshold, in this case, 80%. And they've designed it to where for the maybe 1% that meets all of these things and you won, then you really shouldn't have a problem with paying back some of the recapture tax. But for the most part, I've never had anybody experience the recapture tax, but it's a possibility. Those are the risks. So now, what do? You need to schedule a consultation, because as I said, first come, first serve with this money. If you dilly-dally, it will not be available. The last bond monies that we had here in the state of Texas was with another entity. The interest rate was 5.75%. The money lasted for 6 days, maybe 5, and it was gone. There you have it. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe so that you could be kept abreast of things like this. Thank you for joining us today and learning more about the 4% first mortgage bond program for first-time home buyers offered by TSHAC, Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation, for those of us that live here in the state of Texas or those of you that are looking to move to Texas. We hope you found this presentation informative and helpful. If you have any questions or if you would like to apply for the program, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you and have a great day.